Aisha radiallahu anha narrates that she entered the masjid an eclipse, and the Prophet, peace be upon him, was leading a prayer, and she joined the prayer. But he kept standing up for such a long time that she wanted to sit down, and then she realized that there was a woman standing next to her who was much physically weaker than her. So anytime she wanted to sit down, she would encourage herself by saying that this woman is like physically weaker, but she's still standing. And then Aisha radiallahu anha explains the way the Prophet, peace be upon him, would elongate this prayer. This is an authentic narration in Muslim. Fatima bint Qais radiallahu anha narrates that she heard the call to prayer, and so she went to the masjid and she stood in the row with women, and the Prophet, peace be upon him, got on the pulpit smiling, and then he told them about a man who was Christian, who had just converted to Islam, and who affirmed a portion of the message of the Prophet, peace be upon him, based on their sources. That's also in Sahih Muslim. In another narration, the Prophet, peace be upon him, saw spit on the wall of the masjid and it upset him, and so a woman from the Ansar went, she cleaned the spit, she put perfume on the wall. And the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "How beautiful this is." This is in Abu Shayba's Musannaf, and it's authentic. And you know when you go to the masjid and there's a pulpit and the khatib stands on it and gives a sermon? The Prophet, peace be upon him, used to stand on a tree stump. One day, a woman of the Ansar suggested that she gets a pulpit made for him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and she did so, and then he started standing on that instead. Some scholars say that this was a man from the Ansar, but Bukhari mentions that he affirms it's a woman. Abdullah ibn Abbas mentioned that his mother, al-Fadl radiallahu anha, when she heard him reciting from the surah, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, wal mursalati urfa, she said, "Oh my son, by Allah, your recitation made me remember that it was the last surah I heard from Allah's Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He recited it in the Maghrib prayer." That's in Bukhari and Muslim. Hisham bint Haritha radiallahu anha mentioned that she did not memorize Surah Qaf except from the mouth of the Prophet, peace be upon him, because he would recite it in his sermon every Friday. In another narration, she talks about memorizing it because he would recite it in Salat al-Fajr. That's in Sahih Muslim. Asma bint Yazid radiallahu anha mentions that there were a group of women just hanging out in the Masjid of the Prophet, peace be upon him. There were about 10 of them sitting in the Masjid, and the Prophet, peace be upon him, walked by raising his hand in greeting. That's an authentic narration recorded in Riyadh al-Salihin. Aisha radiallahu anha mentions how the woman would go covered for Salat al-Fajr, and also a number of other different salawat are recorded. There are so many more authentic narrations like this, but I'll end by just sharing the statement of Anas radiallahu anhu. He was asked if elderly women would pray with the Prophet, peace be upon him, in the masjid when he himself was in an elder age. And he replied by saying, "Yes, and even the young ones." This comment that I'm replying to here is not personal to this individual. There's so many comments like this. Myself used to believe this. Is there extra reward for women praying in the masjid? What did the Prophet, peace be upon him, mean when he talked about, peace be upon him, a woman's prayer at home? Those topics and more, inshallah, on other episodes of It's Not a Feminist Interpretation of Islam. It's just authentic narrations presented with differences of opinion from our scholars, from our Salaf, that maybe you haven't been exposed to before.